I looked at some of the main luxury clothing brands out there, and I started to see trends, patterns, and I want to build with you step by step on a luxury clothing brand. I'm Christian Pignon, and alongside my business partner, Aaron Pearson, we're here to unveil the secrets behind having a great luxury website and how to market it offline. So if you're new here to our channel, welcome. We drop 2 content-rich videos every single week. Aaron goes into the marketing strategies while I dive deep into Shopify. So what's the secret to having a luxury website? Let's start with, I think, the basics, right? And bear with me here, we may not have a fully complete site, but you're gonna get a lot of golden nuggets and you're gonna learn the ins and outs of actually creating a luxury brand. Now, I have here Bottega Veneta, Louis Vuitton, Prada, Hermes, I think that's how you say it. And these are the 4 sites that I was going over in terms of luxury brands. Obviously, some of the main things that you'll see right from the get-go is minimalistic. They're very, very minimalistic. And I think this is great. I think that if you are looking to build a luxury brand or a luxury clothing store, then I think following some of the principles that we'll talk about here would be good. But just know that it's gonna be a very minimalistic design. Now, these brands have the luxury, no pun intended, of having this minimalistic look because the customer is already, they already know about the brand, right? From all the different things that they do within marketing to make sure that you know about Bottega Veneta and Louis Vuitton, right? There's not much that they need to do on the website to convince you that they are a legitimate brand, right? So they get that luxury of being hyper minimalistic on their store. So we'll take some of these elements so we can build our own. Something else that I see and something that to me, I think it's also very important. And as of the last 5-10 years, a lot of brands have gotten to this trend of even in their logos, right? They're being very hyper minimalistic in the logos. So you look at this compared to this, compared to Prada looks a little bit better, right? A little bit more, and Hermes too, a little bit better. But at the end of the day, a lot of these brands have just very simple, plain black and white type logos. That's one of the first things that I created. I just created just a fake logo for our brand. It's gonna be called Pepe Le Pew, and we're gonna go over extrapolating some of these elements, right, into making our brand. So again, if you are a luxury brand, I would consider making a logo that, again, is very minimalistic. But just because the logo is very minimalistic doesn't mean that you can include, so for example, if you look at the Prada favicon up here, they have the nice little triangle favicon, and then obviously Hermes, they have the horse with the carriage and everything. So don't be afraid to incorporate different elements as part of your logo, as part of building a luxury brand. So just because Louis Vuitton just has this and nothing else, they still have the LV, they have this pattern that sort of transcends just a logo, right? So be thinking about how you can incorporate potentially things like this within your brand. So housekeeping, right? We talked about logo. We talked about the fact that they're hyper minimalistic. The last thing that I do want to mention, 2 things actually. 1, photography. Unfortunately for you, and for photography is going to make or break the website. And this is for any minimalistic type of store. So if you are looking into creating a very similar store to some of these, then what you need to be spending most of your time on is going to be your photography, because your photography is going to make this website look the way that it looks. So if we can see an example here for, let's go to like Louis Vuitton, for example. We have this big banner image, again, just beautiful imagery, but at the same time, like, I mean, you could do this, right? You could potentially do something like this. And then we get into some of the actual product shots, right? This looks a little bit more sophisticated, but at the same time, it looks different and it looks very simple, right? It's still just the product on a shiny surface, potentially, maybe that's computer generated, but talking about the shiny surface, but in just a gradient style background, right? To showcase their products in here, or some of their main highlighted collections. So again, these are some of the things and some of the decisions that you'll have to make as a business to figure out how can we differentiate ourselves from other brands out there, but still keep the same elements, right? You have the product in the forefront and you have a simple yet interesting background here with this sort of blue gradients that are slightly different from one to another, which again, I think it just creates that consistency and cohesiveness that we talk about all the time. But at the same time, it looks slightly different, it looks rich, it looks interesting. So, and this is why they are Louis Vuitton, right? And then we have product shots, right, with actual models. Like this is, again, something that this combination of having products by themselves and having products with actual models being modeled and posed, that's going to be the winning combination for your photography. And I think a lot of people tend to forget about this type of photography because you usually just use it on the homepage, potentially on the collection page. You don't use it anywhere else on the site, really, as long as you have really good product photography. But again, photography is going to make or break your website, so make sure that you have a good understanding of what is it exactly that you're going to need from your photography. Now, we'll get to that, once we start building here. So you'll get an idea of potentially what are the shots that you'll need for your brand. Now, beyond that, I think the last thing that I want to talk about and touch on is typography. So I think all of them, from what I looked into, so there's this app called CSS Peeper, I think is what it's called, and it tells you the name of the font that the brand is using, and it gives you a whole bunch of other options in terms of CSS and colors and things like that. But I believe all of them have their own unique, they created their own font, but at the end of the day, it's a sans serif font. So it's a very simple, still clean font, so you can see the font there. I think the other thing that I saw within the fonts is also they sort of reduced the size of it, right? I think that, I guess, reducing the size of the font overall for the headings, for the paragraphs, for the navigation, I think it creates this sort of little dainty, maybe potentially I can see that the luxury aspect of it, right? When the font is just a little bit smaller, you get to sort of pack in maybe a little bit more text or have a little bit more white space, right? So these are all things that we're gonna try to incorporate here within our store. Now, as part of the process, right, of creating a luxury store, you will more than likely, you can use Dawn. I think that's perfectly fine to use the Dawn theme, but you're gonna look really like everyone else in that sense. So to me, investing some time into looking for some paid themes that will give you slightly more flexibility, that you can still be minimalistic with it, but at the same time, you will look a little bit different from the rest. That would be my suggestion. For the purpose of this example, I have broadcast in here. But to be honest, there's probably any paid theme out there, you can sort of get rid of all the fluff, right? And still keep them hyper minimalistic and have this luxury feel to them by changing some of the things that we talked about just previously. Photos, fonts, the logo, right? All these things will add up to that sophistication of the theme. So don't be afraid to, when you install the theme and you see all these sections and all these things in here, my recommendation almost for this example will probably be to, let's delete everything here. Let's delete all these sections, all the shop the look, the feature collection, the rich text, tab, custom content, other one. So for this right here right now, we only have a banner, the footer, and the header. So that's really how we're going to start this right now. Now, let me go ahead and click save on that. Let's go ahead and add our logo. I think adding our logo is going to really help us out, see how this brand can actually look like. All right, so let's pick a logo here. We have our logo for Pepe Le Pew. We're gonna upload that. Boom, already looking like $1 million brand. All right, so we have a very simple logo in here. Now, if I'm designing this store, the next step after just putting the logo, I like to put the logo in here just to kind of get a look and get a feel for how the logo and the brand and the colors and the fonts will all interact. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to theme settings and I'm going to go to typography. So right from the get-go, all these themes are going to give you sort of like a default font that they've selected. A lot of people tend to forget to change that, but for the purpose of this example and just looking at some of these other luxury brands and what they're doing, I think a Helvetica New is going to be our go-to unless there's something else. Now, when it comes to these fonts, I would recommend sticking around with what the theme gives you, which a lot of these are going to be based on Google Fonts. So I would try to stick with these instead of trying to load some custom font that you've created. Typically, that tends to slow down the website a little bit. So for me, I think I'm going to go here and look for the Helvetica. Let's see if we can have Helvetica. Okay, so we have Helvetica regular, not new. So let's see how that looks. And then we're actually going to match the next. Ooh, Avenir Next is actually a nice one, but we're gonna go with Helvetica here. Classic, good old fonts. Perfect. Okay, now the next thing that I wanna do with the fonts is not just selecting the font, but I think this also, again, it helps with the luxury aspect of it, right? So font size, this is for headings. Again, we're going to minimize the size of some of these headings. Let's do 75, and then subheadings, because we're at 75, let's do 55, and then body text, do 50. Ooh, 50 is really tiny. So let's do 50, no, let's do 60. a little bit more. Let's do 70. Okay, 70. It looks nice, dainty, a little bit smaller, right, than what you would regularly used to. And then the navigation is the other one. And again, depending on your theme, you may have some of these. You may have actual pixels to go off of instead of percentages like mine. So it will really change a little bit. So navigation wise, okay, that's way too small. Let's go 80. Yeah, let's go 80. Okay, this is looking better. This is looking better. In the terms of, you know, luxury brands, this is not typically what we're used to creating, but again, these are smaller changes that I think add to the overall aesthetics of the theme. So now we have everything on Helvetica. We've changed the spacing or the font size, sorry. Letter spacing is another thing that we can kind of play around with. Usually adding just a little bit of spacing can add something nice. I would say, let's see, maybe the headings could benefit from having something like that. That wasn't that much of a difference. Let's do 50. Okay, so you can see it's a very slight change, and the spacing is really like the space in between each of the letters. So it just adds a little bit of more breathing room there. I think I want to do it for the navigation just a little bit. Let's do the 25. Let's do it again. 50. Maybe another time. Actually, I want to do uppercase too. I think uppercase, let's compare to the other brands. So, okay, they have lowercase. They also have lowercase. Okay, they have upper or higher or uppercase included in there. And then Hermes, they have regular. No, they have uppercase. It's like an upper, but not really upper. Okay, so we're actually 50-50 on this. I'm gonna go with upper actually. I think that looks to me a little bit nicer there. Okay, so there we go. We have our navigation, we have our typography in place. Colors is not something that we're going to go crazy because again, it's gonna be very much a very black and white. Now, word of caution here. I think a lot of people tend to think that having a predominantly black background on your site will sort of exude luxury, but I would tell you to not do that. It has been proven time and time again that predominantly black backgrounds on a website don't convert as well as having a predominantly white version of your site. So if you want to maybe play around with the overall background of the site, then maybe there's an opportunity to do some kind of like light gray work, something like that, right? Where it will change slightly the sort of the appearance of the site, but I would certainly not do a full-on black on majority of your site. That's just not something that we would recommend. Okay, now homepage wise, again, a lot of these homepages, they have just big banner announcements, and some of them are showcasing some collections, and some of them are showcasing some products. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna do the banner. So we have a slideshow. We're gonna get rid of the slideshow portion. We're just gonna have use the slideshow section, but we can use a single slide. So it would just become a single banner section essentially. So let's go ahead and upload that image in here. I think I had, yeah, because I was getting some of these images from these other brands. They were not JPEG, they were downloading as something else. Just for the purpose of this example, we're gonna do this one that I got from Louis Vuitton. And then right within here, this is where you have the option to use the sort of the blocks within this section, right? So if we look at this right here, this image, we have all these additional blocks, right? We have the heading, the text, we have the buttons, and we have a little bit of control over where this falls. So if we see this, like it's right on top of like my actual image, if I want to have it like just right underneath, I think that would be best. So let's see, desktop alignment, bottom center. Is that a thing? Yes, it is. Okay, perfect. So as you can see, now we have the text right here within this. We have the heading, we have the view products. Let me just go in here. I'm just gonna grab some of this text. I guess this whole thing is okay, let's do shop now, woman. So let's do that. We can do that together. So they don't have additional text. We're just gonna keep it iconic, handbags, the side trunk. I don't think this is the text that goes with this, but just to kind of give you an example, right? Actually, we're gonna do that, copy that. Let's do that as the heading size. So this is, again, one of those things that the theme may also give you is the opportunity to control the size of the heading for this particular section. Let's go 7 so we can fit the whole thing. And then that button, I think we have the option to do a small. Okay, products, we're gonna change this to shop now. All caps, that looks great. Now, thing that I want to change will probably be this. So there's a little bit more contrast. It looks a little bit weird. Oh, okay, so they have a single line. They don't have a button. So maybe getting rid of the button. Do we have that option? So we can either do an outline or we can do plain text. Boom, there it is. Okay, so again, I mean, we're trying to copy it one for one, but not really at the same time. And again, depending on the theme that you select, you will have some different options, but definitely look around on some of the options and try to go for that look and feel that, again, will exude luxury, right? And this is really all we're trying to do here is it's either try to mimic or maybe mimic a little bit from this one, a little bit from this one to try to achieve some of the same solutions. Now, something else, again, if you're trying to go for the hyper minimalistic, having the hero banner is something that I think I would recommend for everyone to have. And then after that, you really have a couple options. I think for the purpose of this exercise, I think having a featured collection would be best for us, just to kind of highlight 4 of our products that we have included right within here. So for this featured collection, let me see, can connect it in here. And I've created a collection called Tops. Nice, and they're all sold out. That's great. Great, great, great. So let's go here to the back end. Let's just add some inventory to these just to make sure that we can kind of play around with them on the product page. So let's go to products, go to this one. All right, so we got some products in here with some inventory. Now, we have the option to do a title for almost every single section. It's going to give the option to do a title. With hyper minimalistic brands like this, there's times where I think that getting rid of that would be a good thing. Also getting rid of the additional button options, right? That could be also a very good thing, where now we have our hero. This is like the newest collection that we have, and then right from there, we go into maybe our feature products, but we don't have to say feature products, right? The customer just knows like these are the newest or these are the best, right out the gate. So that's what we have here is just 4 simple products along with our hero banner. To be honest, like this looks pretty sleek. this looks pretty nice in terms of a luxury brand website. Now, additional sections, right? If we look at any of these, like sometimes they have something like this. So this right here is just multiple collections being featured into one section. And then I think Prada has just big blocks of, again, just different collections being shared right here within the homepage. And then Hermes, I think they have a mixture. So they have the heading, they have, again, the collections in here, and they have another banner, they have individual products. So they have a little bit of a mixture of everything. So let's go to Prada and let's try to steal maybe these 2 images in here. Let's go ahead and save these so that we can create a section something similar to this, right? Maybe we have our big collection, we have our featured products, and then we have 2 featured collections that we want people to look into, which is going to be women's shoes and men's shoes. All right, so here under at section, let's type in collection, and it's going to be this collection list. And again, for yours, it may be just slightly different. And then we're just going to do 2 of them. So if we get rid of that, let's see what options we have here, because right now it's not looking very nice. So the grid, okay, we can change this from 4 to 2. Okay, that's looking better. And then let's go ahead and add the images so we know what we're working with here. And it was this one and this one. So we got our women's, and then we have our men's. Okay, let's do, men's shoes, and then women's shoes. Wow, look at that. It looks like a hodgepodge of Louis Vuitton, Bottega, Prada, and Hermes. All right, now for, again, like we said, this heading here, we don't really need this. We don't need to tell the customer what this is, so we can just get rid of that, and that way we'll have just big blocks of the actual elements in there. So you can see that slight animation. That's just part of the theme and how it works. It gives us some padding info and some other things in there. Okay, there you have it. I mean, that's a pretty solid homepage in terms of what's new. Now, something to consider here for luxury brands is that this should change, right? As the seasons change, as the month and potentially even weeks change, right? This banner image will become something different. These products should rotate, and also these sort of highlighted collections should change and rotate throughout the year as well. So these are all things that I would make sure that you're changing with your store. Now, something else that I would consider that people tend to forget about is this footer here, right? So right now we have a newsletter. It says subscribe to get special offers, free giveaways, once in a lifetime deals. For your brand, you're gonna have a very specific offer when someone actually subscribes to the newsletter. So to me, and what I would want to make sure that at least I do here is on that newsletter section is changing the verbiage a little bit. I just want to see, I don't even know if they have, I'm hoping they do. So it looks like Bottega doesn't have anything. Louis Vuitton, okay, they have something. Now they changed it to email sign up, which is something that I would probably do. Sign up for Louis Vuitton's emails and receive the latest news from the Maison, including exclusive, okay. Follow us. Prada, subscribe to our newsletter. Okay, so they still use the word newsletter. And then Hermes, they have it. They also have a newsletter, receive newsletter, discover stores, collections, surprises. What happens when we click subscribe? Okay, so it's a modal. Okay, interesting. Okay, so again, 50-50 on whether they have it or not. So yeah, I think to me, changing it from newsletter to like join our email list sounds a little bit more modern, considering like, I don't know, it's not really a newsletter, right? It's more of a, yeah, you're joining our email list, so you're up to date. Now, trying to incorporate things for like, you know, the rest of us, right, in here, so that you're conducive to more conversion, right? We talked about this in the beginning of the video, where some of these brands, they have the luxury to be, you know, hyper minimalistic. And I think that's fine, right, to some extent. But at the end of the day, you're still going to want to include some best practices in order to try to get more conversions on your store. People don't know who you are, right? Even if you are a luxury brand, you still want to be able to talk to your customer a little bit more and have the ability to instill a little bit of trust, right, within your brand. And again, part of the trust factor for luxury brands is going to be, especially if you're a new luxury brand, it's going to be having amazing and great photography. That's truly going to shift how this website looks overall. And as you can see right now, like we have sort of like a hodgepodge of different things. So it kind of looks segmented or broken. And that's because we don't have good photography that's cohesive, right, from one to the other. So let's see, besides what we have here within the homepage, the next best page that I'm going to dive a little bit deeper is going to be the product page. So to me, the product page, it's again one of those pages that I believe needs a little bit of work. And this is where, from the get-go, you'll probably get sections like this on your theme. So the product page, we're going to go in and remove some of the sections just like we did on the homepage. So, and again, some of these are good things I think to have, but if you want to go for this, again, hyper minimalistic, then this is the look and feel of the site. I would still probably want to encourage you to include some of these things. Now, I'm going to, so I removed that one, use the inspector. Okay, custom content, we're gonna remove that. We're gonna leave our product recommendations. So Broadcast does a really good job with this product recommendation section because it has both the related products and recently viewed. So it keeps things a little bit cleaner, which is great for us because what we want is that luxury look to it, and minimalism is just a great thing to include here. Let me just hide these for now, these accordion pieces. I may introduce them back in. We'll see. Okay, now on the actual product page template, some of the things that I would encourage you to change or look into, the buy buttons. I would get rid of the dynamic checkout buttons. Just keep it simple, add to cart button in here. Now, something that I did notice, let me see all of them actually. Let's go through a product page for all of these. Men's new arrivals, Louis Vuitton. Let's open up one of these products. Go look at the shoes. Hermes. Let's look at this shirt here. Yeah, very simple, very simple. But still, I mean, it includes a couple things that I would want to make sure that you have in here. So they have product care in here, they have delivery and returns, and gifting as well as just drop-down menus, which is great. For Prada, let's go to the actual product page. Okay, this was interesting. On the add to cart, they don't have add to cart, they have place in cart. I don't know, I like it. Let's see, they have add to shopping bag or discover in store. We're not gonna do the discover in store. Again, I think I'm a huge advocate for having that single call to action here on your product page. Obviously, having a $5,500 bag, like you probably want to kind of, you know, touch it and feel it before you go shopping for it. So discover in store, if you have that option, like that could be something that, yeah. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that the add to cart button is the most prominent button here. Cool. Okay, so yeah, it looks like they're doing some of the what we consider best practices, right? Talking about deliveries, returns, payment methods, product care. But then beyond that, it's just, that's it, right? They don't really talk about the quality of the materials or anything like that. It's just a very simple product details and then chef's kiss on the imagery and the photography here. Okay, let's try to change that place in cart. I think that's something interesting that, again, will probably differentiate you, but probably I'm guessing a lot of you don't even know how to change that. And that one's interesting because that's something something that you don't change here within the customizer. It's something that you'll have to change within the, what do they call it? Let's open up these, this tab here. And we're actually not gonna be able to change it. The reason is because we don't have broadcast as a paid theme right now. We're on the trial. And we also don't have it as the enabled live theme. But you'll click on the three dots here and you can click on edit default theme content. And then from here, this will give you all of that verbiage within your store that's considered default, where you can still change it and look for it. So let's see, add to cart. Okay, so there's that product add to cart. Go ahead and click save on that. And again, it's not gonna be changed. That's not gonna change on our theme, the one that we're working on, but it's gonna change on this Dawn one. So let's go to view that preview of the Dawn, and let's go see, I guess that one is sold out, so we won't be able to see that. There we go. Place in cart. It just looks, you know, it sounds so much better, so much nicer. You're not just adding things, you're just placing it. That's really what you want to do there. So again, it's not going to change here because we're not on the paid version, but that's how you would change that type of verbiage that you may look everywhere and you're like, where do I change this? That's the place that you would go to change that. Now, looks like we have our description in here that we've added. And then probably what I would do just to, again, keep things simple, instead of using the accordion section that I had in here, they have a tabs option. So within the tabs, I would do the delivery and returns, and then also just product care, just include it right within here. Again, I mean, that looks pretty sleek. That looks pretty good. This complete the look, I think it's great, but again, like none of these luxury brands have any sort of upsell, which is just mind-boggling to me. If you have the opportunity, again, if you're just starting out, if you have the opportunity to have something like this, like some kind of upsell that's included within the theme, 100% do it. This is definitely going to help out quite a lot, especially if you have products that actually go well with one another. For now, let's go ahead and just hide that. And then we also have these sort of featured text, free 30-day returns, free shipping on orders over 100. Again, this is considered best practice. I don't think any of the ones that we just looked at in terms of luxury brand, they don't have that. But to me, like this looks pretty sleek. Like we're still going off of, let me see if I can show the preview here of that actual product. Yeah, it's a okay, again, we said this again and again. It's a hyper minimalistic theme, right? We have the brand, we have the imagery, we have enough the description, the delivery and returns, care of the product. We're still highlighting, right, some of these things for deliveries and returns, which I think is very important, and I would probably leave in here. And then the other biggest thing here is we have a very specific and single add to cart button here that just takes them directly there. And then beyond that, my main recommendation here is to have related products and recently viewed along with that. The great thing about this particular theme is that it combines both of them, so it looks even sleeker and hyper minimalistic here. So this looks beautiful. This looks great. Let's go ahead and add to cart. Let me just see how this looks. Cart looks great. That linear path of checking out is exactly here. From the product page, we have that single add to cart. From the cart, we have that single checkout. That's exactly what we want to see here. So there you have it. I mean, this is a simple, right, yet minimalistic luxury version, right, of a clothing store. And it's just tweaking certain elements that it's going to allow you to really showcase and highlight the actual product imagery. And that's really what a lot of these luxury brands tend to do and tend to gravitate towards, is having just excellent imagery on their websites and everything else sort of like taking the back seat on your site. Now, maybe you're not a luxury store site and maybe you're thinking about still wanting to incorporate some of these things and potentially incorporating some of these best practices that I very slightly hinted at. Then the next best thing that I would encourage you to do is watch this video here next.